The Raiders were back on the field over the weekend. Well, they were on the softball field over the weekend. We'll tell you about that plus more on Monday's edition of the Locked On Raiders podcast for July 15th, 2024.
You are Locked On Raiders, your daily Las Vegas Raiders podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome in, Raider Nation, to another edition of the Locked On Raiders podcast. Thank you so much for making the show your first listen of the day. Make sure you subscribe or follow for free on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast. To get the latest edition of the show as soon as it becomes available, as always, if you're checking us out on YouTube, you know we appreciate that. The show has grown each and every day, and that's because of the support of Raider Nation and because of my man Ari, who does a great job every day making sure we're on YouTube, we're looking good, we're sounding good. We definitely appreciate him. We shout him out, and you can as well. Hit him up on Twitter at Ari Produces. You can hit me up as well at your boy Q254, as many of you do. And, of course, you want to be a part of the show. We got the Locked On Raider podcast voicemail line at 707-654-4693. A lot of great feedback that we received over the weekend, really based off of Friday's show as well, talking about ESPY Awards, but we were giving them out Raiders style. So we got a lot of great feedback. We'll get as many of your calls and texts coming up in segment number 3 as possible. Segment number 2, I was out at the Battle for Vegas, which is the Raiders versus the Golden Knights, a charity softball game on Saturday, and just seeing the evolution of the Raider fan base in Las Vegas as opposed to the Golden Knights and their fan base here in Las Vegas just got me thinking. So I want to talk about the maturation, the evolution of the Raiders fan base here in Las Vegas and how Antonio Pierce and obviously the Raiders and what they do on the field is going to help continue to evolve the fan base here in Vegas. So we'll do that in segment number 2. Here in segment number 1 will be news and notes, and really it's just going to be based around the Battle for Vegas, the charity softball game. We'll get right to that after I tell you about the title sponsor of the show, which is Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use the promo code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. So the 5th annual Battle for Vegas, the charity softball game, took place on Saturday at the Las Vegas Ballpark, which is a fantastic venue. And I remember arriving here in Las Vegas in 2021. It was one of my first events that I went to before I ever did a radio show. It was one of the first events that I was able to go to. It was a lot of fun just seeing the Raiders take on the Golden Knights. Obviously, those are the two big-time professional organizations. The Aces are as well. But every year they have the charity softball game, the Battle for Vegas. And so a lot of times it's really good to go out there and kind of get an opportunity to talk to a lot of the players and, you know, see a lot of the big-time players out there. And it's, you know, continued to evolve a little bit. And so the access that I got on Saturday wasn't as good as I would like. I probably could have done a little bit better job, but it was really loud, and there was a lot of, there was a lot of times where we were meeting with the players, but it was big groups, and so you couldn't really hear the questions that were being asked, only because of the crowd being so loud and obviously everything going on at the game. But for the Raiders, A.J. Cole was the team captain. Daniel Carlson was on the team. Alexander Madison was on the team. Dylan Parham, Thayer Munford, Trey Taylor, the rookie safety, Jacorian Bennett, Trayvon Merck, and then Jose and Ozzie Canseco were also part of the team as well. So they had, the home run derby, which was really good. The Golden Knights won that. Matter of fact, the Golden Knights won the game. The Golden Knights whooped the Raiders. It was like 31-14. They just whooped them, and it's, 2 years in a row or 3 years in a row? I think 3 years. No, 3 years in a row now. The Golden Knights have won, so the Raiders are on a little bit of a slide when it comes to the Battle for Vegas. But, I always see it and realize that means that training camp is right around the corner as well. But A.J. Cole, the team captain, he was in the home run derby, and it's so funny. We had an opportunity to try to catch up with him in like a little bit of a scrum-type setting, but they were already calling him to go to bat for, to be in the home run derby. So he basically, and you'll hear him right here, is talking about, I can talk fast. Don't worry, I can talk fast. Well, it didn't last very long. It was over before I got started. But here's a couple seconds with Raiders punter A.J. Cole, who was the team captain.
AJ, I'll go fast. I'll talk fast. I'm good at that.
What's it like being back out here again for another Battle for Vegas against the Golden Knights?
Yeah, it's a blast. We're looking for vengeance. We're looking for to return to greatness, and that's what we're going for today.
How have you guys specifically prepared for a moment like this?
Yeah, I think it was one of those conversations last year. You walk in the locker room and you go, you don't ever want to have this feeling again. The work starts now, 365 opportunities to get better. We put the hay in the barn, and now it's time to find out.
There was a bench clearing brawl a couple years ago at this this event.
That's right.
Can we expect that again tonight?
Yeah, you absolutely can. You can expect to see me in the middle of it.
Right. So there's good hats is going to happen?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
First ever ejection in the history.
Yeah, it's going to be the best fight of the night. Apparently, I got to go.
Good luck.
So as you could tell, he had to go. He did participate in the home run derby. He did a really good job. He didn't win, but he did a really good job. Daniel Carlson, he was actually a dude at the plate. He's obviously the Raiders' Pro Bowl kicker, a fantastic kicker. Cash Money Carlson's what we called him. Clearly a crowd favorite. Carlson did a really good job. Alexander Madison, he's a decent softball player, I guess. I guess that's the way to put it. Nothing to write home about, but he's there. We all know he's got a pretty big role to fill this year. Right, I mean, the 1-2 punches, Zamir White and Alexander Madison are going to be very important for that run game and to get everything going in the offense that Luke Getsy wants to run. Those two dudes, Zamir White and Alexander Madison, have a lot of work that they've got to do to be able to not only fill the void of Josh Jacobs being gone now in Green Bay, but just overall in general, just really being able to be, somewhere that the Raiders offensively can lean on that run game. Dylan Parham. Well, I'm glad he's a really good offensive lineman. He is not a very good softball player. He looked very uncomfortable at the plate. He looked comfortable out there, though. He had his uniform on, had his hat on backwards, looked like he was having a good time. When he got out there at the plate, man, let me tell you, he did not look good at all. They might as well have called me. They might as well say, you know what, Q, we need you out there, man, because they needed a couple extra bats. Dylan Parham's was not one. Now, it was the opposite for Thayer Munford, who we all believe is going to be the right tackle this year. He went deep a couple times. He looked very comfortable out there at the plate, and he looked like he was in a really good headspace. And, I'm really happy for Thayer Munford. I remember when he came in to the Raiders as a rookie, a 7th-round pick. Remember him saying how much doubt he had. He didn't have a lot of confidence. He spent a lot of time with Jean, who's a team therapist, and how she was really helping him along. And, just to see how he's matured and evolved over the past couple of years to the point where, even in mandatory minicamp when he was telling us that the Raiders have their right tackle, it's him. And he had so much confidence in his voice. And just to see him out there in that kind of a setting, that softball setting where everyone could be a little bit relaxed, let their hair down a little bit, but still be the most confident dude in the room. Thayer Munford really does look that part. So I root for him. I hope that he does hold down that right tackle spot, but just to know that he's in a much better headspace than he was when he arrived with the Raiders a couple seasons ago as a 7th-round pick out of Ohio State is really good to see. Trey Taylor, the rookie safety, he was just out there having a blast. He even made a catch that I thought was pretty incredible. It was one of those snow cone specials. I was like, oh, he's going to drop it. He's going to drop it. He's going to drop it. And somehow he tracked it, leaned back, and caught the ball. It was pretty cool. Like I said, it was snow cone action. He had missed one ball earlier, but caught that one. So I guess he was pulling a safety, right? Was pulling a safety and trying to track the ball and be that guy. That's what he did. Jacorian Bennett, I had an opportunity to talk to him just kind of off to the side. It wasn't anything that I recorded or anything, but just kind of talk to him. He looks pretty excited, fired up. He did say he was fired up about training camp coming around the corner, excited about his second year in the league. And, of course, the cornerback position is something we'll be paying attention to. Who's going to earn that spot across from Jack Jones? Jose and Ozzie Canseco were out there. And funny quick story about Jose Canseco growing up. Me and my best friend who lived around the corner, I always say the Zamoras who lived around the corner. Well, Erica was a big Jose Canseco fan. Of course, I'm a big Ricky Henderson fan. They both played on the A's in their heyday, so we used to beef back and forth who was the better player, Jose Canseco or Ricky Henderson. So anyway, saw Jose out there, and I thought it was pretty cool. So I got him to give her a shout-out. Hey, Erica, what's up? It's Jose Canseco. My dumb self recorded over it. Like, I don't know what it was. Somehow I'm going to edit it and I recorded over it. So the intention was good. It was a good idea. Execution was poor. We know how that happens quite a bit. But yeah, it was kind of cool to see Jose Canseco out there. And I'll tell you what, I know it's only a softball game. That dude could still hit. When just during the home run derby, man, every time that guy got a ball that was anywhere near Jose, he would drill that thing over the fence. And he was getting so mad because the pitcher for the home run derby was from the Golden Knights, and he wasn't pitching very good. And so Jose was getting mad because the ball wasn't where it was supposed to be. But every time that dude made contact, gone. It was gone. Ozzie, that's another story. But Jose Canseco was fantastic. Then my guy, Trayvon Merck, of course, he's going into his last year of his rookie deal. 2nd-round pick out of TCU. Had a really good season last year. You know I had to catch up with my guy, so here's a quick minute with Raiders safety, Trayvon Merck. Back out here at the Las Vegas ballpark, Trayvon Merck. All right, now you play center field. when you're on the gridiron. What are you playing here at the ballpark when you're playing softball tonight?
Man, I'm going to try to be in the outfield, catch all the pop fly balls, break the other team's heart. They think it's going out the other side, nah, I'm coming to get it. So,
what does it feel like to be able to have this event, go up against the Golden Knights, and have all these fans out here in the building?
It's just a great, event just to bring everybody together, just have a good time, compete at the same time. But, it's a bigger cause, and that's what we're playing for. So it's a good time to be out here.
Does it kind of let you know that, oh, by the way, training camp's right around the corner?
Oh, yeah, facts. No, I remember coming here last year, and after the game, I was like, yep, it's time to go. So I know right after this, we're about to get down and get.
What does it feel like with that big-time defense that you had last year? What do you feel like you're getting ready to ramp up for another year?
Man, you just keep that energy. That's all we've been preaching since, AP got here is the defense is energy. And, we feed off of one another, and we're going to keep doing that, every game in and dominate. And that's our goal.
How much easier is it going to make it for you on the back end? Maybe easy is not the right word, but having Christian Wilkins in the middle now.
Definitely, going to speed up the rush, speed up the quarterback, get him off the, get him out the pocket, get him off the center, just make it hard for him. Disrupt the passer, hands up, block batted balls, and then, just give us time to cover.
Final question for you. You told me you're going to steal some home runs. What are you going to do at the plate?
I'm planning for the first one to be out the bat. Home. Dingers.
There you go. All day. Appreciate you.
I need it already.
So there's my guy, Trayvon Merck, right there. Again, these kind of conversations that we have at the Battle for Vegas, we're not going to go too deep diving on the team and what they've got to do this year. You see, he talked a little bit about the team, but it was just a fun atmosphere, and he had a good time out there. He's a pretty good little player. This is a big year upcoming, though, for Trayvon Merck. It's his final year of his rookie deal. Really had a good season last year, and another year with the same defensive coordinator, same scheme. I think he's just going to get better and better and better and show why many people thought, including myself, that he was going to be a first-round pick. The Raiders get him in the second round. They took Leatherwood in the first round. That obviously didn't work out. Trayvon Merck has really started to work, or really, I don't want to say started to work out, really has worked out. And I do believe this year will be a big one for him on the field. And if it is on the field, a big one, then he'll have a big one off the field as well, as he'll be getting a contract extension. Coming up in segment number 2, I want to talk about the Raiders starting to have an impact as far as the fan base here in Las Vegas, how it could continue to evolve, and why I think it needs to continue to evolve. We'll do that in segment number 2 of today's Locked On Raiders podcast. Before we get to that, though, I do want to tell you about the title sponsor of the show, which is Gametime. Gametime is the authorized ticket marketplace in Major League Baseball. We know it's the All-Star break right now. It makes getting tickets faster and easier. Prices on the Gametime app actually go down the closer it gets to first pitch. Great last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guaranteed. Gametime will take the guesswork out of buying Major League Baseball tickets. So if you're trying to go to the All-Star game coming up tomorrow in Arlington, maybe Gametime is a way for you to get those last-minute deals where you're not paying an arm and a leg for All-Star tickets, seeing some of your favorite baseball players all in the same spot. They've got last-minute deals. You can save up to 60% off buying for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and a whole lot more. You can actually see a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy, so you know exactly what your seats look like before you get there. So that's awesome. And, of course, they've got the lowest price guaranteed, or Gametime will credit you 110% of the difference. Right now, take the guesswork out of buying Major League Baseball tickets with Gametime. Download the app, create an account, use promo code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms will apply. Again, create the account, use the promo code LOCKEDONNFL. It's all one word, LOCKEDON NFL for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, Raider Nation, here we go. Segment number 2 of today's Locked On Raiders podcast. Want to talk about the evolution of the fan base here in Las Vegas and how the Raiders, obviously on the field, Antonio Pierce with what he's doing is going to help continue to evolve the fan base in Las Vegas. We know it has only been a handful of years since they've been based here in Las Vegas, and we see what the games look like at Allegiant Stadium. I don't think that there's any mistake in what we see on the regular. It's funny because it's the offseason. There's a lot of top 5 lists going out. There's a lot of rankums. I mean, and everyone's doing it, right? It doesn't matter if you're on the radio, doesn't matter if you're on the podcast, doesn't matter what you're doing. There's a lot of rankums, greatest of all times, Mount Rushmores, all those kind of conversations when it's a slow time of year. So on my ESPN show Game Night, for ESPN Radio, we've been doing a lot of the top 5 and then NFL storylines. So we've been doing this series called Top 5 Rank 'em. And so on Friday, we did top 5 NFL fan bases. And I didn't do my normal show. I was on Carlin versus Joe, which is 9 a.m. to noon Pacific time. So top 5 NFL fan bases, there's no way, and I said this on the radio, there's no way I'm ever going to do a top 5 NFL fan base, rank them, without putting the Raiders in there and putting Raider Nation in there, because I know what Raider Nation really means. But I did slide them in at number 5, which normally I would slide. If they were in Oakland, I probably would have put them number 1. But they were there at number 5. I put the Raiders at 5, Steelers at 4, Packers at 3, Browns at 2, and Bills at 1. Regardless what you think of the list, it doesn't matter. The point is, the Raiders were in there because I know the passion of Raider Nation. Being a member of Raider Nation, I know the passion. I know where, wherever the Raiders play, Raider Nation is going to show up. And, obviously the roots being in Oakland, the roots being in L.A., back to Oakland, and now in Las Vegas, it's been a slow process growing the fan base here. And, it's not going to be something that happens overnight. But being out at the Las Vegas ballpark on Saturday and seeing the Raiders versus the Golden Knights and knowing that the Golden Knights are homegrown, the Golden Knights are from Las Vegas, you just see the stranglehold that they have on this city as far as the fan base goes. I mean, even to the point, and anyone who's been at a game at Allegiant Stadium knows this to be true. I'm not making this stuff up. When the national anthem is sung and they get to, all through and everyone screams out, Knights. They do it. And it's so funny. While they were doing the national anthem at the Battle for Vegas on Saturday, the charity softball game, I forgot about that. I expected at Allegiant Stadium now for Raider games, I expect them to do that just because I'm used to it. I wasn't even thinking about it. So we're standing there on the field. We're watching them go through the national anthem. They're about to have the flyover with the jets from Nellis Air Force Base, and excited about that, about to watch that. And then all of a sudden they get through and the whole crowd screams out, Knights! And man, it was almost like, whoa, like wake up, almost like a wake up type moment, because again, wasn't expecting it. And so you see how passionate that fan base is, and you start to think, okay, at what point can the Raiders really start to get more of a stranglehold? I'm not ever saying that they're going to overtake the Golden Knights, because again, they have something that the Raiders could never have, which is they were born here. Right, they're from here. They're rooted in, not to take away from the A's slogan when they were trying to come up with that silly slogan. They're literally rooted in Las Vegas, and the Raiders are in town trying to put their thumbprint in their impact. But I will say this, and again, this is all going through my mind while I'm standing on the field listening to the national anthem and watching these two fan bases, get excited for each other and the opportunity to be out there and hearing the cheering for both teams. I'm thinking with what Antonio Pierce has been able to do, and I go back to even week 18 at Allegiant Stadium where the whole crowd is chanting AP, 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 and the fact that he's actually got the heart and soul of Raider Nation. I'm just feeling like with the Raider way coming back, that you're going to start to see more of a commitment from Raider fans in general to be at Allegiant Stadium. I say it all the time. It's a destination location. So you're going to get opposing fans are going to want to be there. There's just no two ways about it. Would you rather go to a game in Vegas, or would you rather go to a game in Santa Clara? Right? If your favorite team is playing the Raiders and the 49ers, more times than not, if you're going to take a road trip, you'd rather go to Vegas than go to Santa Clara. There's just no other two ways about it, right? I mean, it's a no-brainer. So there's always going to be opposition in the stands. But I love the fact that even on November 1st, you go back to that opening press conference that Champ Kelly and AP had, they mentioned packing Allegiant Stadium with Raider Nation, right? I mean, that was one of the first things. So clearly that's something that has been expressed to him. I'm sure from the owner, Mark Davis, that he would like to see more of a Raider presence, Raider fans presence in Allegiant, as opposed to whoever they're playing week in and week out, whether it's the Chiefs or, the Broncos or the Chargers. And there's not Charger fans in there, but you know what I mean? Like whoever comes in, a lot of times you'll see the fans. A lot of that has to do with the Raiders, though, and I say it all the time. If you win games, Raider Nation will go there and support you, because that's a lot of money it costs to go to the games. I mean, the Raiders tickets at Allegiant Stadium are the most expensive tickets in the NFL, not to mention everything that goes with it, from hotels to food to entertainment, from all that. I mean, that's a pretty penny. And even if you're only going with 2 people, let alone if you're going with like a family of 4, I mean, you're breaking the bank. So a lot of the responsibility is on the Raiders to actually win, continue to win, be a really good team. Raider Nation will find their way out to the building. But also just getting back to Raider football, being smash mouth, being, kind of nasty, not illegal nasty, but just, nasty, being the tough guys, being the bullies, taking what you want as opposed to what the defense gives you, getting back to kind of that Al Davis mantra, right? You start to feel okay, Raider Nation is starting to really come around. And it's not easy. It's funny. I ran into my guy, OG Tone from the Stack, at the game on Saturday, and that's Hayward, California. And he showed me off his new tattoo on his arm, and it said Oakland Raiders. He said, look, nothing against Vegas. I don't mind educating the new fans here in Vegas, but I'm an Oakland original. Understood, right? And like I told him, no explanation needed, right? And I know that a lot of people feel that same way about L.A. Hey, look, I'm an L.A. original. Dope. Right? I mean, I think Greg Papa did it perfect and said it perfect when he was still part of 95.7 The Game, when they were still the flagship station for the Raiders up in the Bay. And he said, look, I never say the city name of the Raiders. I just call them the Raiders. And I think that I do that more times than not as well. I don't even say, because it just sounds weird. First of all, Las Vegas Raiders, but I just say the Raiders, right? Because that's just who they are. And we know that they're worldwide. So, it's just like an evolution. You've got to continue to educate the newer fan bases, because everyone here in Las Vegas is not an original, Oakland Raider fan or a LA Raider fan. A lot of them are just starting to learn about the team and who they are, because they were here and, this is our team now, so we've got to embrace them. So it's taking time. I'm hoping that it continues to evolve. Like I said, I'm not foolish enough to think that it's ever going to overtake what the Golden Knights have as far as their fan base goes. But they can show up and show out. Raider Nation can show up and show out. But, again, it's up to the Raiders to go out there and start winning. This team goes out there and plays the way that I expect them to play this year and shock some folks. I think you're going to continue to see the evolution of this fan base, the more silver and black in Allegiant Stadium, as opposed to seeing other colors pop off the chairs, right? You're in a black stadium, and all of a sudden you got a team with red, or a team with purple, or whoever's coming into the building, right? The Steelers, right? They're showing up into the building. You're seeing a lot of terrible towels. You'll start to see less and less in that. The Raiders got to win games, and the fans here in Las Vegas have to continue to learn about who the Raiders are, get educated from the past, and continue to evolve. Like, we can't always live on just everything that the Raiders did, the accomplishments they had back in the day. That's only going to go so far with the fan base, or with new fans that have no idea about them. So, like I said, being there at the game and just looking around the stadium and being able to see the Golden Knight fans and the Raider fans, and a lot of folks are the same. Like, a lot of folks support both teams, right? But again, with them just being rooted in Las Vegas, you could just see the difference. Not to mention they've won a Stanley Cup, right? They've been to the mountaintop. They've had a parade. Let the Raiders mess around and have a parade. I mean, hell, you can go to the Aces games and see them sold out and see the passion for the fan base there. And they weren't an original Las Vegas team. They're originally from San Antonio. So you could see how it can grow and how passionate it can get here. And that's not to try to take anything away from fans that are out of town. I'm not saying that it has to be only Las Vegas, but hopefully it continues to evolve where everybody, whether you're in the Southern Cal area, whether you're in the Bay Area, whether you're all over. I mean, you hear the calls and texts. We get them from everywhere, right? Just wherever you're from, just all come together and continue to be Raider fans and start to pack out Allegiant Stadium and, just represent. And so I'm just hoping that things continue to evolve. And I do think Antonio Pierce, not that he doesn't have enough riding on him already, trying to get the team where they need to be, with the way that he, because kind of can tug at the heartstrings, basically, of Raider Nation. I just feel like he's going to continue to help evolve and mature the fan base here in Las Vegas, and that'll be really good to see. But that's what I got for you, segment number 2. Just, one of the many things I was thinking as I was standing there at Las Vegas Ballpark watching the battle for Vegas, the Raiders versus the Golden Knights charity softball game. The Golden Knights with the big victory over the Raiders, and now the Raiders have lost 3 in a row. Coming up in segment number 3, your calls and texts draft that Locked On Raider podcast voicemail line, 707-654-4693. Before we get to that, though, I do want to tell you about BetterHelp. And I recently got back, as many of you know, from a very much-needed, mind-clearing, calming vacation. I didn't have anything to really do except for figure out what the next activity was, what time I had to be ready, and where we're going to go eat afterwards, right? Gave me a chance to get a little bit of a reset before training camp comes up, before football season hits, and then basically it's full throttle. Well, everyone doesn't always have that opportunity, and sometimes, there is no break. Sometimes all year long is full throttle for you, and it can really put you and your mind in a really tough place, especially when it comes time to make decisions. That could be small decisions, could be big decisions, or it could be a small decision that feels like a big decision based off what's going on in your life. And that's where BetterHelp can come into play. They offer opportunities at therapy that could best fit you, entirely online, convenient, and able to be flexible to fit your schedule. All you got to do is fill out a quick questionnaire, You'll get matched up with a licensed therapist, and if you ever need to switch therapists at any time, you can for no additional charge. You can talk with someone that has no agenda on your life. So don't compare yourself with others. Compare and contrast. That never helps. Just start focusing on you with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/lockedon today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp. BetterHelp.com/lockedon. Here we go, Raider Nation. Segment number 3 of today's Locked On Raiders podcast. Your calls and texts straight off that Locked On Raider podcast voicemail line, 707-654-4693. Let's start things off with Raider Adam calling out of Huntington Beach. He's calling to pass along his thoughts on Raiders ESPYs and has some last year awards and this year award as well. Here he is, Raider Adam in Huntington Beach.
This is Raider Adam out in Huntington Beach. Just calling with my ESPYs that I believe have these awards. MVP, Max Crosby, no doubt. I think he hit the nail on the head. People got to plan around him. He's just a wrecking ball for offenses, and he is who he is. Most improved, I saw you did everyone for this coming year. I have both. So I picked, personally for me, I picked Robert Spillane for the year that passed, just because everyone had so many questions and were talking bad about his coverage and pass defense, and yet he came out with numerous interceptions and did great against the pass. So that was, and he established that linebacker position for us that we haven't had, I feel like, in a while. And then if we were to do this coming year, I would do Aiden O'Connell because I would love to see that. But I don't watch the practices, obviously, and we're not going to be able to see training camp, but I'd love to see Aiden O'Connell be the most improved. Breakout player last year, I put Malcolm Kuntz because of what Malcolm Kuntz did at the end of the year. I know you've talked about it at length, and I think that's a good pick. If we are to do a breakout player for this year, I would like, it's hard for it to be for this position, but I would like for it to be JPJ to establish the O-line and become that guy that is just going to not let anyone through and just handle his own and just build those trenches. I would love for that to be the breakout player. Favorite newcomer, Christian Wilkins. I mean, enough said. Al Davis Award. I agree with you with Charles Woodson. Charles Woodson is the man, but I'd also like to give it to Max Crosby because I would give it to Max Crosby. Max Crosby right now is bringing that Raider way, and he's really embraced it. And he is a Raider through and through, and I think he brought that back. I agree with what you said when everyone's saying Antonio Pierce, but Max Crosby started it, and Antonio Pierce is reinforcing it. Favorite play, Josh Jacobs' overtime run. That was huge. He had a great game, and that run, that made my week. That was huge. I loved it. Bummed to see him leave, but I hope he does well. So those are my ESPYs. Let me know what you think.
Raider Adam, thanks for the call. Appreciate you, brother. MVP, no-brainer. Max Crosby. Most improved, I like this one. Robert Spillane last season. That's one that I hadn't even thought about, but you're absolutely right. We all had questions on what Robert Spillane was going to do, especially in coverage, and he came away and was tied with the team lead with interceptions with 3 with Trayvon Merck. So I like that, and then Aiden O'Connell for this year, very well easily could be. Breakout player, Kuntz last year. JPJ, Jackson Powers Johnson, not bad for this year. That would be nice. He also could be newcomer of the year, but you've got Christian Wilkins. So that works. The Al Davis Award, Charles Woodson, and even a vote for Max Crosby based off the Raider way. Only thing is, the Josh Jacobs overtime run, that was actually back in 2022, if that's the one I'm thinking of, versus Seattle. If I remember correctly, I don't think the Raiders had any overtime games in 2023. But that run to win the game against Seattle, that was actually 2022. Josh Jacobs had a fantastic game, went over 200-something yards rushing, and that's when he was getting interviewed after the game, and Devontae Adams was standing behind him with the little money symbol, like, hey, pay the man, pay the man, pay the man. Well, we all know how that shook out, so there's that. But thanks so much for that call, man. Fantastic stuff. Up next, got a text from Dane Raider in Annapolis. It says, thank you, Dane Raider Annapolis, here with my Raider-style ESPYs, MVP Crosby, most improved O'Connell, breakout player Tyree Wilson, favorite newcomer Jack Jones, and Al Davis Award winner Howie Long. I like that. Really good stuff, out, and especially at Howie Long. That's fantastic. Best 2023 play, the Jack Jones one-handed pick 6. I'm with you, Q, that next season we're going to surprise a lot of people. Can't wait. I'll be at the game in Baltimore this year. Let's show up Raider Nation. Thanks so much for that text. And see, there you go right there. That goes back to what we were talking about in segment number 2, how the Raider fans will be everywhere, right? Definitely planning their road trips. So that's going to be a good game, man. You picked a good one to go to, Baltimore. If I was going to pick a game to go to on the road, that would definitely be one, especially because it's early in the season, so you don't have to worry about it being cold, but you're going up against the Baltimore Ravens. It's going to tell you a lot about the Raiders. It's going to tell you a whole lot about the Raiders, especially early on in the season, who they are going up against that team who's expected to not only make the playoffs, but make a deep run. So that should be a lot of fun, man. You picked a good one and really good SBs, man. I definitely appreciate you hitting us with the SBs Raiders edition. Thanks so much. Up next, got a call from Army Raider. He's calling to respond to the question about where the Raiders need to be at when it comes to their bye week around week 10, plus talks to Davante Adams on the Netflix special receiver. Here he is, Army Raider.
Up, it's your boy Army Raider. Just calling to answer your question. You asked what it would be Raider record-wise, where they need to be at that week 10 bye. I'd say that in order to not start trading people off, they need to be at least 5-4, and even then it depends what those 4 losses are, how far back they are, and what they're looking like, honestly. Second thing is, I think if you watch that receiver show and you hear what Davante keeps bringing up about wanting a championship and being closer to the end in the beginning, and he needs that for his greatness before he goes out, you'd be more open to, if the Raiders aren't cutting it, he's going to ask out. I mean, he was, at times last year with Josh McDaniels talking about it at the very beginning of that show. And lastly, when you couldn't figure out what your caller yesterday was saying, he was saying that Davante Adams post Josh McDaniels, after Josh McDaniels got his swag back. Anyway, that's my thoughts on those things. Army Raider out.
Thanks for the call and the clarification on the swag back post Josh McDaniels. I was really confused by that. It makes sense now. 5-4 to make sure that the Raiders are in the mix. That would be good, right? There would be a couple of losses, obviously, in the AFC since they're playing 7 in the first 9, but 5-4 would be a good position. You're putting yourself in position to make a second half run with 8 games left to go. So that's about where they need to be as far as I'm concerned. 5 to 6 wins and maybe 4, but then you really are putting pressure on yourself to the last 8 games of the season where you really got to play well because, again, you're looking for double-digit wins. So if you go into that thing, 4-5, you're looking to go 6-2 down the stretch, and that's not going to be easy, especially against AFC opponents in the first half. That also could put you in a bad position. But 5-4 probably is the minimum where they need to go. As far as Davante, I could see him wanting out if things went terribly wrong. I don't think things are going to go terribly wrong. I want to be very specific about that. But I could see that just because, as he says, he's got less time on the back end of his career than he has, front end, right? I mean, he's on the back end of his career at this stage of the game. So thanks so much for that call. I do appreciate you. Up next, got a text from Dirty from the 330. He says, "Hey, Q, it's Dirty from the 330 on where the Raiders should be by the bye week. I got us at 6-4, but finishing the season at 11-6, depending on the average quarterback play. Thanks, Q. Appreciate you." And Raiders, look, if they are 6-4 by the time they get it, well, they won't be 6-4 by the time they get into week 10. They'll be 5-4 or maybe 6-3, because they play 9 games, then they get into the bye week. But if they have 6 wins by the time they get to their bye week and they finish at 11-6, that's great. Double-digit wins, and you're at 11. If you get to 11 wins, you're in the playoffs, right? I'm pretty much saying that it's just about a guarantee. If you win 11, you're in the playoffs. Matter of fact, let me look at. I have this every day because I want to. For some reason, I always want to remind myself. Yeah, a 10-win team. Pittsburgh was a 10-win team, and they got a wild card. Houston was a 10-win team, and they won their division. You win 11 games, you're definitely going to be in the playoffs. Buffalo won the division, 11 wins. KC won the division, 11 wins. Cleveland got in with 11 wins. Miami got in with 11 wins. Like, you're getting 11 wins, you're in the playoffs. So if that's what it is, Dirty, I'll take it. Give me 11 wins, and I'm giving you a playoff team in 2024. Let's get one more call in. This was come from Raider Big C in L.A. He's calling to talk about the Netflix series Receiver. Talks Davante, Jimmy G, O'Connell, and also Raiders record at the bye week. Here he is, Raider Big C in L.A.
Hey, Q. It's Raider Big C from L.A. It's been a while since I called in. But saw this Receiver on Netflix, and I'll be honest, I just really fast forward to see Davante Adams stuff. Didn't have the time to watch everyone else. But very, 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 very good. They gave a lot of insight of what was going on during that season. And, of course, they got to play it to where we can see and what we can't see. But the overall consensus I got was that Devontae had a certain winning style when he was in the Packers. And then as you go through the series, you kind of see at the end that he realizes he appreciates his more these wins. He even said himself, he wasn't big in the guards and all that, but at the very end of the season, you see him appreciate it. And he also signed off on the whole AOC. So it seems to me he wanted to work with Jimmy, but you can see clearly it wasn't clicking. Now, who to blame? Jimmy, McDaniels, her, we don't know. But it's a really good series. I'm really, really happy about it. Gave us a better insight on what these players go through every single day. Yes, we go Sundays, we root for them. We root for them on Mondays or Thursdays. But in the end, we're here for one reason, and that's to support the Raiders, and Raider Nation will stand up because this season will be a good season. And my prediction, by the bye week, you got to have 5 wins. You don't have 5 wins, we're going to have some questions. But I think all our wins are winnable. Some of them are going to be a little hard, but this year, this different identity is amazing. Hopefully, I can see you when I go to that training camp at least on the 20th. And from now on, instead of saying Costa Mesa, maybe just say, hey, we're here in CM or somewhere else. All right, take it easy. Raider Big C out.
Big C, thanks so much for the call. It's funny, every time I think of your name, Big C, and I've said this for years, as you've been a very loyal listener and longtime caller of the show, every time I hear your name, Big C, I think of the athletic club in Walnut Creek that my mom and dad used to go to, and I used to go play hoops there with my dad after church on Sundays. Over at the Big C. We're going to go down to the Big C. I think it was Walnut Creek, maybe it was Concord. Anyway, but wherever it was the gym that we used to go to, and I didn't do any gym work. Obviously, I just did hoops because that's all I really do. But yeah, that's all I could ever think of. But thank you for the call, appreciate you. And that was the goal over the weekend, was to finish the whole series receiver. It didn't happen. I did deep dive into some of it though. I'm going to continue to try to hurry up and get through it and watch the whole thing. But yeah, I got thrown off. I fell victim to some of my Law and Order SVU. I started watching some of that over the weekend too, so it took away from my receiver time. But I think that Devontae, I think that relationship with O'Connell that he has, and the fact that he did sign off on O'Connell, I think that that's going to help Aiden in the quarterback competition that we'll see start up at the end of the month. But we'll see. We'll see what it looks like. But from what I've seen from the receiver, the special, and especially Devontae Adams part of it, he seems like a really good dude, especially off the field. Like, really good dude off the field, very focused in on his family, and that's obviously means a lot to him. That's part of the reason why he loves being in Las Vegas, is being back on the West Coast, so his family could be around him all the time. But thanks for that call, my man. I do appreciate you. Still got a text from George in St. Louis. EZE Raider, I got a call from him. A text from Air Raid Vic in the 757, and even a text from the 206. So we got all that we'll have tomorrow's show. We'll have more news and notes, and of course we'll have plenty of conversation here as well as we continue to truck through another week. And then boom, before you know it, we'll be coming to you from Raiders training camp. That's wild. That is right around the corner. Like, there's less than 10 days and the Raiders will be on the practice field. So looking forward to that. Thanks again for making the Locked On Raiders podcast your first listen every day. You're trying to get caught up on other teams that are on the Raiders schedule or just other teams around the National Football League. Make sure you tune in to one of the shows on the Locked On Podcast Network. We have all 32 teams covered. You want to check in on some college football, got that covered. We've got over 200 total shows across the network, different sports, college football, basketball, hockey, draft shows, whatever the case may be. We've got it here on the Locked On Podcast Network, which is your team every day. So until tomorrow, Raider Nation, take care of yourself, take care of your family, love on your family. Most importantly, as always, just win, baby.